pledge of allegiance to the Lord's Prayer. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Don Walker.
Here.
Jason Ransbaugh.
here.
Ross Miller.
Here.
Bob Davenport. Jeff McGee. Dennis Steitler.
Here.
Bart Carr. Sean Joy.
Here.
Debbie Ahern.
Here.
Shannon Steele. Larry Lennon.
Here.
Donna Powell. John Ware.
Here.
Dawn is here. She just stepped up.
Okay. As far as the ordinance for public comment and hearings, I think we're going to wait and see if Shannon gets here. Did you get a traffic jam issue? No? Okay. All right, just didn't know. Over in Chippewa, there was some tie-up earlier today.
Yeah, I come up
Oh, there you go, okay.
We need an engineer study for
Okay, all right, let's begin then with the visitors. Robert Sapser. Robert?
Yeah.
Robert Sapser from Crossgates. He's representing the company that's putting in a new building down there. And he's seeking an amendment to the developer's agreement, and he's going to give you a brief overview. All the council should have reviewed the amendment, and Bob will just give us a brief presentation, and then also if anyone has any questions.
Thank you. As Jason explained, we've issued the amendment to the developer's agreement, and what this is simply the way our development is laid out. It's actually laid out into 3 phases. So we have this first building, which is 105,000 feet, and that's currently what we've made our application for. The next phase, after this building is built and leased, will be phase 2, which is another 105,000, and then we have a separate 75,000 square foot building here. So in the initial developer's agreement, the bond that was presented was for all of the infrastructure for all 3 phases, and this amendment is simply asking for us to be able to simply provide the bond that would be required for our first phase of the building. And the reason for that is we're currently under contract with our contractor and to build this first 105,000 square foot building and all of the infrastructure and utilities that it will take to operate and open the building. And so the revised Exhibit A that you see in the amendment reflects only that portion of the infrastructure that's needed for the first phase. And so we're asking that the developer's agreement be amended to allow us to provide the bond from the contractor for that reduced amount. And part of the reasoning behind that is that the bonding company has said to us that they can only bond what is under contract. So our contractor's surety won't bond something that's not in their contract agreement. So we're asking for this amendment. We're not suggesting that we will not be providing more bonding, but only after we complete this building and we have this building leased. And then when we begin phase 2, we'll simply come back to the borough and say, okay, here's the new bond amount for the second phase, and similarly for the third phase. So that's really what we're here asking for today.
Bob, is that still going to have that expandable wall that you mentioned?
Yes, it is. The first phase of this building is 105,000 feet, and we have an expandable end wall there with the anticipation that if the tenant that is leasing this building would need the full 210,000, we can simply add on to the building. That's
All right. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move that we approve the amendment to the developer's agreement between Adams Place LLC and the Borough amendment to the contract.
Thank you, Rod. Second?
I'll say.
Thank you. Michelle?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So, there it is.
Thank you. We'll see that the bond is issued in the name of the borough, and we'll have that over to you this week.
Okay. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Linda? Carter?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Linda McFadden. I live at 352 Ailey Hill Road, and I'm here this month to follow up on last month's request of the berming of my hill, Ailey Hill, and the condition of my front yard. So I'd like to start by passing out a paper with 3 questions.
Linda, we're going to hold you to 5 minutes.
I'm
Okay?
going through. If you could take a look at this, there are 3 questions that I would like to ask.
Because you signed it, you got that.
My 3 questions would be, here. Did the engineer, Larry, inspect Ailey Hill Road, and especially on top of Ailey Hill Road about the berming? My second question is, what would his recommendation be to repair the damage in front of my yard? And the third is, can you please fill the berm in front of my home? Bring it back to level. You do not have to worry about the grass. I'll take care of all of that. So those are my 3 questions, and then I have some comments on the others below.
Larry, you want to respond?
Sure. Handed out my report. You go to attachment B, the pictures in the back. So we did have somebody go out, look at the berming that was on Ailey Hill Road. What our recommendation would be, anything where that, so with the grader that you have, it's flat, so whenever it berms, it puts out that flat vertical cut. Okay. Whenever it's more than 3 inches, we'd like to see some dirt put back, make it a little flatter. It'll protect against erosion. If you can do a 3-to-1 slope, you can just seed it, mulch it. If it's steeper than that, you'd have to put some fabric down to keep it in place. But that'd be our recommendation. I mean, you need to burn the road to protect the road. But the way that vertical lip is, we'd like to see that softened up, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Now, you're saying vertical lip, talking about that,
If you
on
look
the
at
right-hand side of the berm? Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking about the berm itself?
talking about where the edge of the grader cut into the yard. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So you said take it back to 3 inches, so, is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm
Instead of
saying-
saying whatever the inches are now, you would, or put 3 inches.
So the
in.
grader sits on the road, and it's
Yeah.
not, you can't limit it to just 3
Correct.
inches. So wherever's steeper than 3 inches,
It's gonna take
it's gonna
out.
be handwork to go back in and put
Gotcha.
some dirt back in,
Gotcha.
flatten it out. It's gonna erode.
Got it.
And would that be on all of the Ailey Hill area, or just mine?
If it's more than 3 inches, that's my recommendation.
In other words, from the bottom of the berm to where the cut ends. Where the
Yeah.
vertical.
If it's less than 3 inches, that should be fine, but if it's, like, some of them are pretty substantial.
Okay.
I appreciate that recommendation.
Are they going to roll it, or are they just going to put dirt in there for me, and I will take care of it? How will we take?
I mean, it's handwork. It wouldn't, I wouldn't, how many need to roll it. Yeah. for the amount we're talking.
Well, we can try.
Yeah.
Well, no, it doesn't matter, just so I know what to expect. So as long as they get it back up, and then I can take care of it from there.
Yeah, I don't know how we roll that.
Maybe they-
Hand tamp.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we could probably work with Larry and his team to make sure that we know what needs to be done, make sure it's done
Yeah.
correctly within the engineer's recommendations.
Yes.
Like you said, the berm still has to be there to an extent, but it
Oh,
doesn't have
yeah.
to be that steep. Yeah.
I appreciate it, thank you for your suggestion, it means a lot to me. And I do have a quick question. I took all the roads in Big Beaver Borough
Mhm.
and went on to all the roads in Big Beaver Borough, the ones that are listed here. And what I've noticed that the berm work was only done on a few roads. And all these roads below had no berm work done. And I'm just questioning why these roads were chosen to have berm work done, and these below didn't.
Well, it's done over a period of time. They don't do all of the roads every year.
I see, so many roads a year or
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
That's a
Thank
good,
you.
good list for us to have, that these things are done, and then
Some of the
I
roads
have-
don't even have a berm.
Well, I know.
Some of those roads are in pretty bad shape too.
yes, ma'am.
I have maps if you need the maps as well.
Oh, we've got them.
Okay.
We are drowning in maps.
Yeah, we
But
know.
thank you.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome. Okay, minutes. Okay, let's do the minutes, get those out of the way, and then go to the visitors. Everyone has a chance, has had a chance to look at the minutes before you from October 1st. Any comments?
The only thing, Halloween, 6 days, I didn't tell you what date it was.
Yeah.
That's why there's a second.
What is it?
31st.
What, Thursday?
Yeah.
31st.
Yeah, just a trick or treat night from 6 to 8.
Yeah.
Well, it's marked on the board, and it's on the website, so.
Good. Okay, 31st. Okay, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I make a motion to accept the minutes for the October 1st meeting.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Then fight. Okay. All right, Michelle,
Yes.
Rod,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
myself. Okay, Larry, could you send up the video? Oh, there it is, it's already on its way. Thank you. Okay. Ron, there you are.
Yeah, two questions. Just curious on the update on the transfer plan, and if anything's been done about the 5,000 cats that we have in the neighborhood. Might be exaggerating a little bit, but we do have lots.
If I could say about the cats, there are 2 rescue groups that are trying to, get their calendars scheduled to get out and get this done. There was also an offer from a gentleman with a farm that he would take a good number. And if you know anyone else like that, usually, that's not the recommendation, but we understand that, the big issue is weeding out that population. There are things like, the property owner has to be spoken to, and, so it's, they're in the middle of kitten season everywhere, but I'm working with them to get that scheduled. So they would trap them, they would get them in to neuter them, and then in this case, if we can get, I don't think we want to dump all those cats on the farmer.
Well, I know the one house does take them and get them neutered. But he leaves the garage door open about 6 inches, so they're in and out and running the neighborhood all day long. And are doing their business in my yard, which my dog likes to smell and kind of roll in.
Yeah.
Jason's a
Yeah.
And my dog has to have a leash, and the cats are like
Yeah.
3
You
ranks.
should take that up with the state legislature. The state should do something about this, perhaps, because they made the dog law, and I agree with you, then why can't we have a cat law? I don't know, but that's just up to the state. See, we're as you are, we can't do X, Y, Z, A, B, C. We can't, because cats are they're not handled by the game commission, and they're not covered under dog law because they're not dogs. So it's sort of like they're in, I wouldn't call it limbo, they're sort of in cat heaven.
Yeah.
It's a loophole. And no one's ever, and then when you go against the cat people, as a legislator, I'm serious, they call them cat wars. You know, go online, you can read about the cat wars that have gone on across the country, not just here, it's a mess.
Well, as I say, normally it's trap, neuter, return, because if you don't return, then other cats come in. Once there's a certain colony of them, they kind of tend to keep others out unless they die off or whatever.
But,
You know, there's still cats.
but the TNR was done before in our neighborhood, and the population grew.
Well, it's
So I don't know what happens, to maybe not all the ends get done, I don't know. The neuter, I don't know.
well,
Your neighbor said this morning she has 7 cats in her yard, none of them are hers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know.
I understand.
Yeah, I live there, I know.
You call the Humane
But see,
Society.
we have to follow the law.
But doesn't the state have an ordinance on how many you're allowed to have?
No, you're not listening to me. There's nothing from the state like we do with our dogs. Nothing, zero, Donna,
They're
tell
not
me.
considered
Is it
wild
possible
animals
though
either.
for an individual township or borough to set a limit on the number? Because
No.
I believe there are some townships
Well,
in Pennsylvania that do have a restriction in their code of how many cats they can have.
that would be, and Shannon, our attorney, sitting right next to me, maybe, probably has some info on it, but that would be like the cats that you,
Yeah, these
so
are-
whoever's,
These are feral cats.
yes, these are feral cats. They
Yep.
really don't belong to anyone.
Loophole cats, yeah.
You feed them.
Well,
Yeah,
we
it's
need,
difficult to enforce.
yeah, it is. It might help to know who's feeding them,
It's pretty easy, the food's sitting outside.
You normally end up getting into a situation where maybe your code enforcement goes into the home for another reason, and that's when they discover indoor cats, that you can violate them on the ordinance.
Yeah.
But outdoor cats that they're feeding, those wild cats come and go, that would be impossible, it would be a full-time job. I don't think Donna Pella could do it. It's very difficult.
I was just gonna say in a court situation, because I do know some communities that do have some ordinances to try to control that, but when you get into a court situation, the pushback is usually, well, it's not mine, I don't own it. So how do you prove if that cat's going 5, 6 houses up and down the street, let's just say for the sake of argument, then who's responsible? All 6 of those people, or is it one person? So it just becomes kind of murky to enforce, and Jason's correct, there's nothing at the state level, they consider them a separate free classification, and you don't have to license cats,
I don't like
you
it
don't.
either.
They're not considered wild either.
No.
Yeah, so you don't have to get licenses for them, so it's like a whole separate set of regulations, and it's just hard to enforce something like that.
the best possible thing that I can figure out at this point is getting these two groups. There's a group in Pittsburgh, and Jason says that population grew after that. That'd be our way to start numbering them. But they do.
Well, one would think over time if TNR worked, then over time, as the old cats that were there and were end, then you would see a diminution.
Well,
Believe me, we haven't seen a lesson.
kittens that
They're growing.
well, yeah, there's really nothing else other than that. I offer that.
Could I say one more thing that I know, because this is where I take my animals to Angels for Animals,
Yeah.
which is in Canfield, Ohio, will actually lend you traps. I know that's probably not something you want to get into with actually trapping the cats that you're complaining about, but they'll actually lend out cat traps. And then if you catch them, I think they'll take them. So that could be an option.
Have you made, has anybody made contact with the Beaver County Humane Society?
That had been done, but they'll just neuter them and bring them back.
Right, they're
That
part of the
doesn't solve
TMR.
anything.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think that has to be kept up with over time. And it just hasn't been, you know, hasn't been kept up with. Sadly.
Okay. So, about the road? Can you try this one?
Okay. You did receive the bids.
Yeah. So when's the 90 days?
You'd have to make action prior to November, but paving season.
Yeah.
Okay. So no decision yet on that?
No decision on that.
And as far as the state, I think that'd be a fool's errand. Because I think the pussy people would be so upset that no one would touch that. That's my opinion, because they're organized. These people that are pro-cats are organized, according to what I've seen on the internet in what they call the cat wars across the country. Maybe. I guess it could be worse. Some people have feral pigs. I don't know. At least you can shoot them and eat them. All right. Okay. I'm sorry, this next one I can't read.
Carla.
Carla, somebody?
Carl?
Carl? I don't know.
Carl and Marlena.
Oh, I see, okay. Okay. Okay, Carl. Yours for 5 minutes.
Okay. I spoke to Donna. There was a complaint issued against me by my older sister who lives in Pittsburgh from my equipment at my shop. And I spent an hour with Lochner today. Big Beaver took me to court on this before. And Lochner ruled in my favor because it was an established business. And now he can't, I went there to get paperwork today and they deleted it. So one thing I wanted to know if Big Beaver still had paperwork because I was issued a summons by Big Beaver.
And the situation is considered corrected
Well-
or in line.
No, he won.
He
the
ruled
first
in his
one.
favor, he won.
Right,
He's
that's
talking
what I'm
about a
saying.
new-
The decision
Yeah.
of Lochner's was in line with, you know, with your, yeah.
Yeah. And, well, since I talked to Donna and she told me the complaint's been withdrawn now.
Okay.
Okay, good.
But
It happened
I
again.
look for this to be an ongoing thing. I look for this to happen again. So I was wondering if Big Beaver had any paperwork as far as what Lochner lost. So I didn't have to go to court again.
Well, Donna could tell us what's in the pipeline or where that stands.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
In other words, do you have paperwork in the pipeline, so to speak?
No, I do not.
Okay, so, and once it's withdrawn, then as far as you know, that's the end of it, as far as Big Beaver's concerned.
As far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned
Yeah.
with what I'm charged to do, if the person withdraws it, then, because we're complaint only here, so
Yeah,
if the person
yeah.
that's complaining says never mind,
Then never mind.
then I kinda just stop
Oh, yeah.
what I'm doing until, if it would in fact crop up again, then you have to.
Is there something, Donna, that Carl could get that would say that by, you know, issue of Doug Lochner's office, that this is,
I had nothing to do with the Doug Lochner discussion. This would have been how many years ago, Carl?
Taylor was the
Yeah.
one that issued me the.
Yeah, he went today to try to retrieve what happened 10 years
okay,
ago.
yeah.
So I wasn't involved in any of this Lochner discussion that happened today. That would be
Okay.
referring to the past situation. And I wasn't here, I wasn't the
Right,
code officer, just for the record. I wasn't the code officer who cited him. I believe it was Mr. Taylor
Mhm.
the
Yes.
first time around.
Yes.
You've been here how long, Norman?
Well, I've been here 11 years.
So that was over 11
Actually
years
12.
ago.
It'll be
Yeah.
12 in a couple of weeks, so it's older than 12 years.
But I look for this to happen again, because this is an ongoing,
I think what you
Yeah.
might want to, now, tell me if I'm wrong, Shannon, you might want to talk to a lawyer about, I don't know what you call it, harassment, if people cite you, or get you cited, complain about you, cause action, and then withdraw, and would keep doing something like this. Is
It'd be a
there-
private.
Yeah, it'd be
issue
private, I know.
Against your sister.
Yeah, you'd have to go to a lawyer and do something. I don't know
I
what.
spoke to a lawyer yesterday,
Mhm.
and he told me to go to Lochner's and retrieve the paperwork because it was double jeopardy, and it did apply. Nobody seems to have paperwork.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
They probably.
all I can tell you is whatever your lawyer tells you to do, and if Lochner says they have no paperwork, then, and see, the problem is, anything, let's say that you are correct in this, your future guess or whatever estimate thought is that this is going to happen again. I don't think we have any recourse but to follow up on a complaint, right, Donna?
To follow, if she complains again,
Yes,
yeah, then I immediately.
by law,
have
we
to-
have to act.
I have to go
Yeah.
out and look at whatever the complaint was.
But
Yes.
I think what Shannon is sort of telling you, that you could go and do something with a lawyer yourself if this continues, if, you know, but that's for the future.
And, well, the other thing I wanted to ask, she doesn't live in Beaver County. She lives in Allegheny County.
So,
It doesn't matter, because she's the one that's filing the complaint.
Does she own property around you or something?
She owns 1/3 interest in my mother's house that just passed away.
well, does that make a difference? I mean, if someone lodges a complaint for whatever that falls under our guidelines, do they have to live in Big Beaver, Beaver County, Western PA, Pennsylvania? I don't know how that works.
Shannon could speak to that probably
Okay.
better than me, but my feeling on that would be is if they own property.
Well, no, but my question is broader. You know, for whatever reason, someone's running through Big Beaver, they see
Oh,
something they don't
okay.
like, say, this is against your ordinance, so-and-so, can they file a complaint with Big Beaver, and they don't live here, they don't
Yeah.
live in Beaver? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, there's the answer to that.
But it's the
yeah.
borough that's filing.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we investigate and
Correct.
then file. Gotcha, I see why, yeah.
But
So,
we
no,
would-
that doesn't matter. It's
We
you.
would still have to investigate.
And I don't think this property ownership.
It's very similar to the racetrack,
Well,
what you're saying,
Yeah.
the complaints were going.
Well, I'm just wondering why she would make the complaint if she didn't own property.
Well,
Maybe she doesn't like her brother,
Oh,
Right.
okay?
that's one reason. The other reason is she's trying to get as much money out of the house
Well,
as she
see,
can.
yeah, and that's beyond anything we can, but there you see, Mayor, we got two reasons right away. You know, okay, don't get involved between a man and a woman or a family affair. That's always good.
All righty, thank you.
Okay. Janelle?
Just came to listen mostly, but I didn't quite understand the response about the roads and the Turkestar plan. I understood they were put out for bid, right?
Yeah.
Was there a deadline on when the bids had to be submitted? Have we received any bids?
Oh, yeah, we got the bids,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, you have the bids out?
Yeah, and they were open, and we're,
But it's something you're going to take a look at in the
Yeah.
future, is that right?
yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm. Dawn?
I just came as a spectator, but since I've
Okay.
been here, I just want to say two things. One, in that cat situation, apparently there was a situation where a car drove onto Lakeview Drive, opened the door and let 4 cats out and drove away. So are we becoming a cat
Dumping
Dumping
ground?
ground.
Do that?
Dumping ground.
God only knows,
Okay.
yeah.
And the second, are we now videotaping your meetings?
Well, I think you'd have to ask the gentleman who's seated in front of you.
Are you permitted to do that?
I'm assuming that's what's going on. No, we're not doing it.
We're not.
Borough's not doing it. but that's, I don't know, ask him.
It's
John
said
is
it right in
asking,
front
are
of
we permitted?
Are you permitted to do that?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I didn't know, that's all.
Okay, now you know. Yeah.
I say, I came as a spectator.
And I would have gotten a haircut, but I didn't know he was coming. Okay, no.
He's like with the cat people.
Cat people.
I got the same problem.
That'd be a good movie, right? Cat Wars.
My neighbor has cats just running everywhere.
Oh, yeah, it's a horrible problem in our country. I don't know, not just here. All right, thank you. Next, we'll move on to, unless I'm forgetting anybody, financials. That would be Debbie.
For the month of September, we collected $219,000. We spent $54,000, which left us with a balance of $476,905 in the general account. Second page, the smaller accounts, we have 133 in Pliget class, 440 in class plus, 239 in liquid fuels, and then the smaller, small flow treatment facilities.
Okay. So that's the financial status today. Do I hear a motion to accept?
I move to accept the financial report for September 2019.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Michelle?
Yes.
Roz?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
And myself? Yes. Okay.
Current bills to be paid for the month of October total $54,550 and $6,706 out of the liquid fuels account.
Okay. Any questions regarding the bills? If not, is there a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept the bill list and pay as funds become available.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Michelle?
Yes.
Roz?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Myself? Yes. Okay.
Okay, so also on my report, I did receive the map from Guy Truly of the area where the trees are to be removed. I had emailed Shannon and Larry about the advertisement because I don't know the legal verbiage that has to go in. Would you write that, or can I just write it? If we want to advertise for bids for that timber?
So you have a list of trees, locations,
And we have a map of the location.
so you wouldn't need a forester, so it would just be telling what specific trees.
Telling them, and I don't know if they're marked or not. Roz, you want to call Guy and find
I
out?
can, yeah, I can certainly call Guy.
I don't know if they were marked. I think he said we have to go from the map, you take 80 foot
Right.
from the, and I
Like
don't remember if it was the
I
bill.
can-
Okay.
And
I wouldn't
80
talk.
feet. There's a, yeah, there's
Tonight,
a
right,
footage that he
response,
told us.
Okay.
I don't remember what that was.
Okay, all right.
So you want to know if somebody wants to write the letter, or do you want you to
Well,
write the
no.
letter?
Right,
Right up to bid.
the request for bid,
Yeah.
right, so we can get that advertised.
We've never done this before.
Larry's gonna do it, Dawn.
Okay,
Okay.
Larry.
Let me ask you a question, does it, will it need to be restored after they do the
No,
timbering?
they're going to,
Yeah,
The Dominion will take care of it.
right,
Dominion.
they're just gonna knock them down, and they said if we could sell them,
Yeah.
a timber mill.
So they'll
would
knock it
probably-
down too, they don't even need to.
No,
Well, here's
right,
the deal. And I got it from a timber guy also, and Truly said it also. The people Dominion or whatever the company is, pipeline company, they will hire clearers.
Yeah.
They're not timber guys.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna be careful with some of the trees. They could turn them into from saw logs to firewood logs. And firewood logs don't have the value. Yeah,
Or chips.
yeah, well,
So that's what most of them do, they make
yeah,
them into
yeah.
chips.
But anyway, the point is, so, see, we wanna get this going because, well, number one, what did Guy say? Maybe December, January?
Yeah.
January.
Yeah.
And that'd be good if we get cold weather in November, because you want it cold and dry if you're gonna go in and get them. So the problem is, if we allow them to
Yeah.
take them down and then bring them to like someplace by the park where someone can then buy them, God only knows how much in value they will have deteriorated because of the guys that do the clearing are not in the timber business and they don't care.
So December, January, that's when they're gonna come in to clear.
Yeah. I
So
think-
this guy would need to be in
Before.
open bids next month.
Yeah.
Yeah, next month would be good.
All right.
And then that would give these people, whoever would
A
bid.
month.
Okay, send me the list.
Okay.
Yeah. And as I said though, now, I don't know how to handle this. Maybe we shouldn't discuss this in open chambers. Well, I get why not? Hey, here's the deal. If we get the wrong kind of people in there, they're gonna steal from us. They're gonna go off, if they're not marked, okay, and I doubt that they are. If they are, you know, if that forester that Dominion hired, if he's marked them, or she has marked them, then that's fine. But if no one's marked, then who measures, and who's watching? That's just the way it is, it's a chance.
That's what the forester does, doesn't it?
What?
He makes sure that they cut the right trees down, and they
No,
don't
no,
cut.
no, no.
If you
no.
hire a forester to work
Yeah,
with
we
the
would,
log,
we would have to hire.
hire.
them.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Right.
The one for Dominion, they don't care.
That's what.
What do they care if they go
Yeah.
another 80, 100 feet?
Well,
See what I'm saying, Donnie?
Well, maybe it'd be worth your while to hire a forester if you're worried
We
about.
could-
leaking.
well, I think though too that will be, you know, surveyed off adequately and we get somebody good, you know, ATV or something. You know, if we can get somebody to ride up and check that they're just clearing in the surveyed area.
I'm too old.
Yeah.
Oh, she said-
Dawn's gonna do it. What's up, Dawn?
You're gonna
At
make any
Blackhawk
good.
Golf Course, they sold the timber twice in about the last 10 years.
Really?
They had people come in and put a red ribbon
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
nailed on a tree, and those were the only trees taken.
yeah,
Well, that's what we're hoping the forester for.
yeah.
Yeah, if we hire a forester.
No, even if their forester might do it, you know,
If- well-
mark 'em, but they
If it
probably.
didn't have,
gave
a-
us
if
a
it didn't
list.
have a red ribbon, it didn't go.
Yeah, I understand.
But,
Give us a
but in
list of
reference to what Jason's saying, you really gotta watch these timber guys, cause
Really?
they'll rob you. I've experienced this. I mean,
Yeah,
you know, they'll
right,
rob you
right.
blind, you know?
Yeah, once they're in and gone and you look over and say, oh my, they went.
Yeah, and they actually have lawyers where they say, no, you know, now you're into a legal battle.
Yeah, maybe we're gonna have to think about getting our own overseer or forester, I don't know.
Have been surveyed yet?
But Larry,
I have a name.
he has a name.
Yeah, okay.
Has it been surveyed yet?
Yes.
Well, yeah,
By
that's,
Dominion,
yeah.
So that
Yeah,
timber
the
small
specs,
would
the
know.
specs will be there as far as
Yes.
distance from the center of the pipeline, da-da-da-da. Yeah, that's all there, the boundaries, I would call them. Yeah, that's there, but what would I know if I walked around, you see what I'm saying? You have to know what you're doing. to
I'm
know.
saying if you brought somebody in to mark the trees, as long as they knew where the boundaries were.
Mhm.
That's
Oh, yeah, they'd be
something
able
they
to
could
know.
know.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. That's why you would hire someone like a forester to do that, you know. Or I suppose a surveyor, I don't know. Well, we can talk about that. Yeah. Okay, next we have the, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Debbie.
The only thing I had was, is Larry our stormwater management person? Or who is our stormwater management person?
You, I think.
Planning Commission, the Planning Commission was going to speak to this, at our meeting and, you know, hash that out.
Okay. I'll
As a
just put Planning
recommendation from
Commission.
Planning Commission. It was, but the meeting did not get that far.
Okay.
So we had some real dry work to work. It was very dry work and people were done. So and there was another issue that you and I had spoken about and
With
that
the
also-
number of plans, the number of drawings that we get?
Yes, that also needs to go to planning commission. So I have those, but they just getting them on the schedule did not work this time.
Debbie, we passed one thing up.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what they're actually gonna do as far as expanding the distance for the
If you want
Wi-Fi
to speak
distance.
to that, I didn't talk to them at all.
Okay, I
He
mean,
didn't,
the
he just
bulbs, how,
provided
what
a
he's,
quote.
like, he's gonna add any equipment. I mean, they, on that up here I saw, they have what they call a dongle, and all it is an antenna. And I don't know if they're just gonna stretch it out further because,
You wanna give
Well,
them a
he
call?
has on here.
yeah, I'll give him a
unified
call, give me a call, and I'm
access
gonna
point.
ask him what he's exactly gonna do. Because
Yeah.
we'd actually
I mean,
need
I have his
another,
contact.
wiring another router to give us coverage in this area.
That's what it looks like to me, that he's gonna bring in another router.
Well, for 225 with labor, I don't know. See, that's why I just don't want a dongle, which is,
The
a dongle is more or
130.
less the antenna.
$130. He doesn't total these. So this is $500.
The
He
225
doesn't
then is running the cable.
Right, he never
The
totaled.
labor's 85
So
and the
this-
access point's 130, so that's all that added up. That's not, 225 is not the total.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
Yeah, he's running cables across there, cabling, run one network cable to the council chambers, 225.
Okay.
and the unit, do you have a copy?
No.
This access point is $130.
Okay, now
Then
that
there's
makes more
setup,
sense.
then there's the he never puts a total. So you have
Okay,
to
yeah, I
add
have,
it.
okay, see, I only have the one price, I know what we do just for this.
No, so
Okay.
it's like probably a little over
Okay, now that
five.
makes more sense, all right.
I try to keep it all.
So is that approved or no? Do you still wanna talk to him?
No, that, I think that, what it's gonna do is put another router in, and that, will take up the price, so, yeah, okay.
So where are we on price?
500, what was that?
2, 3, 4, 5, yeah.
Okay.
How much?
A little over 5, plus they need an AC receptacle, wherever they're gonna put it. And the ones I see is this one here, along this wall. So there's none along that wall or that one. So I don't know if they have to run electrical wire or not. I don't know.
So then, we're still in the dark on what the total cost is.
No.
Well, if he does
So-
what's here, if you add up what's in here, the price for the access point, the labor, and the cables, it's $440.
Okay.
What about the electric?
Shipping and tax not included, so. it
The
makes it a little
router
more
will be
with shipping
plugged
and
into
tax,
an
Jason.
AC source, to a power source.
Right, and
So he's gonna run a cable probably across the ceiling here, and let's say he's gonna plug it in here,
Take
and
it
that's when your
there.
AC is going to be your AC source.
Okay.
Okay. So, I just wanna make sure everybody has, internet access here
okay.
in this room.
So what's anybody's will? I don't care, so
I-
someone else better.
I move to approve this installation of Wi-Fi for the council chambers.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay. Michelle?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Okay. So next, is that it, Debbie?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have streets and roads, roadmaster report.
I'm gonna start ordering our winter road material, our anti-skid, 450 ton of that. And then the road salt will come a little later. And we're boom mowing right now, and we're almost halfway through our boom mowing road banks. We're out on Roslyn Road right now. Everything's going well for that.
What do we have to pay a month for that?
I'm not sure.
Oh,
It's on the bill list,
6,000.
$6,178.
Yeah.
We take the boom mower out every day. There's a lot of trees to cut.
And we have that for how long?
30 days.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else for our roadmaster? Okay. All right, next on Parks and Recreations, Roadmaster and I, because he's also in charge of parks, we went down and looked at the covered bridge, and I think we walked away with more questions than we figured out. The plan that we had, that I had, and Donnie and I looked at it one time, was to put steel beams underneath it that extended beyond, and the problem is what the geographers call meandering stream.
Yes.
And it's undercutting actually on both sides, and I don't know. What it is, we're just sort of worried about picking it up.
Right, right. I can
We're just
understand
worried that even though Donnie got it moved that time, and it didn't collapse, but we have a sort of worry that if we try that, and then also we can't get the equipment that we have, the backhoe across to the other side of the creek. You know, so I don't know. We were there for an hour, but we didn't know, just didn't know whether we should try it, because if we break it up, then we're gonna have to have another road, or excuse me, another bridge, because now we have the disc golf course, so they have to be able to get across. But that's not the issue. That since, you know, Gene Whitlatch was the driving force in that, it really would be a shame for us to ruin it. So we don't know.
It was an Eagle Scout project.
Oh, that would be a beauty.
Yeah, so it just, sorry folks, we have some fear, trepidation, anxiety, call it what you will. We just don't, we're worried.
There had been something suggested earlier months, like, you know, sometime late last year, about some sort of baskets of some sort of rock.
Yeah, the gallon.
Jade and limestone.
Yeah.
Yeah, what, I mean, is that?
Well, that might, see, the trouble is that when you put that in, you're then narrowing under the bridge. So that means when it really gets flooding, you're gonna be moving it upward. I'm not being smart.
No, I thought this out and
I don't know.
wondered, you know.
Yeah, but we talked about that, Donnie mentioned that when we were down there. So we're befuddled. It's the only word.
It is sort of a historical piece.
Yeah,
relative
because it's
historical
you know,
piece.
I mean, yeah.
You know.
So that's the report. If anyone has any ideas, we'll accept them, entertain them. Is there anything else on the part? When do we close
Our close is,
They're gonna pick the porta johns up next week.
there you go, that's what I was looking
Yeah, and there's no more bathrooms.
at. No more that.
I'd like,
Yeah.
through the next couple months to get together with Michelle and see if we can arrange for some playground equipment down there.
Okay.
I've got a couple ideas and, you know, some
Remember,
material.
Larry's at the jump on, and that kind of stuff. so
Yes,
maybe
we
you
could
can-
meet with
okay.
them. That'd be great.
Okay, planning commission.
Okay, there's nothing on the agenda and we didn't have any visitors, so we worked on the, what they call the use table. And that's the table where we have all our zoning districts and we're deciding what kind of business to go, or what use could be used in each zoning area. And then we spent all night working on that. And Rod did give us the floodplain information of all the parcels and that were in the floodplain for us to just look over.
That was very nice, Debbie. I appreciated getting that floodplain list.
Do you have electronic form of that?
I don't, Becky, do you have an electronic form of the floodplain list?
Yes,
Yeah,
Yes, I
okay. Yeah,
do.
send that to me.
yeah, you and I talked about it today.
Yeah, because I said, rather than
That'd be good.
leafing through like this, we'll just do a
Yes.
search, a computer search and find, it'll be easier to find the parcel number.
Yeah. Excellent.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Municipal authority.
Last meeting, I'll start with Chad's report. He really just there weren't any major issues with any of the stations. He did some routine maintenance as far as weed killing and cutting the grass. I did change the oil in #1 pump in Stockman Run, and he rebuilt and installed a new rotating unit in pump #1 in Wallace Run. But other than that, they've all been running well, and we haven't had any issues in a while.
It seemed like they have the grease control grease problem under control.
No.
No, still have problems.
No, but we haven't had a problem with the rags in a while, so.
Oh.
So
And that's the center pool, they call it.
Right.
Yeah, up at the,
Yeah, these flushable stuff for
That ain't
babies and
flushable.
stuff, they are not flushable and they really create problems.
Right, well, the stuff that was coming from the turnpike.
Turnpike, yeah.
It was actually big paper towels, those big heavy
Yeah,
paper towels.
so we
that
haven't
were flushing.
had that in a couple months, so. Really, other than that, we just went through our regular business, and I know when we were talking, or when we were at the meeting, was there something that we needed to cover? I said, remind me, do you remember?
For here,
Yeah.
it's under my report.
Yeah.
Okay, very good, okay, then I knew that was but other than that, really just our regular business, and really nothing really new to report there.
thank you, Jeff.
Mhm.
Oh, one thing,
Go ahead.
that work they're doing along Route 18, around the turnpike, is that our sewer line they're working on? Or is that a water line?
Must be a water line, unless it comes up next meeting. I don't think they were working on it when we had the last meeting.
Oh, they've been working on it almost a year now.
Oh, then it
No,
must,
it's not.
yeah, it must be a water line then, because it hasn't come up under our,
Okay.
it hasn't come up.
Good. All right, zoning?
Do you have your reports ahead of time, a little bit ahead of time to look at? The first thing I wanted to bring up is the variance for Adams Place, which the gentleman was just here this evening for the height, variance for the height. The information is posted on the door, time and date, if anybody's interested on attending. We did get that, we posted the property and notified the residents. Number one, the Netflix movie starring Jason Momoa, who's Aquaman, is filming at Boulevard Auto down on Route 18. They called today. Yeah, so November 18th is the date of the filming, that's a Monday. They're gonna do one half day in the morning. They'll set up on that Friday, which is the 15th. They've already spoken to and are cleared by PennDOT, because I guess there's gonna be, as it was explained to me, a van pulling out of Boulevard Auto onto Route 18. So they're gonna have to stop traffic at certain points. So he's going through his paperwork with PennDOT. He's talked to the state police for the traffic control portion of it. And they just wanted to know, is there something that the borough wants from them other than my suggestion to talk to Adam Krepp? Because if, God forbid, there's an accident with a van pulling out, or something were to happen with the traffic, the fire department is gonna get the call on that. So we referred him, Becky gave him Adam's number. I didn't feel like it was I shouldn't be handing out Adam's cell phone number, so I referred him to Becky to get whatever contact information you have for Adam. So is there anything else that you see?
Well, are you gonna be in this one?
Well, actually, I talked to him a little bit about that. I was actually teasing him, because here's what he said to me. We should only be about a half an hour. And I said, Joshua,
Come on, get real.
I've been on a couple of the sets actually, and it's never a half an hour. And he's like, well, yeah, it could go longer than that. It's more like 12 hours. So he said, hey, I hope you I hope you get, you know, get picked to come down here. So I said, well, maybe we can, you know.
Yeah.
Kill two birds with one
We can
stone.
negotiate a little deal there, but anyhow, he's a very nice young man and just wanted to know if
Okay.
there's,
Yeah.
do you see anything else from after hearing this story that you would like to see from him?
Yeah. Hey, it's a state road.
Okay.
I'm glad it's not a local, not a big Beaver road.
Right.
That's, yeah.
So I told him I would call him back tomorrow and let him know, so onward they go. Number 2 is we had a request for a letter, and if you look at page 3 of your packet, it's there. This is Cambridge Wells Nursing Home, and they're installing a lock and alarm system. I guess they're gonna have it like an Alzheimer's unit that has to lock. So they're, as it was explained to me, they're installing the lock and alarm system, and they're in the permitting phase. We've had some discussions with MDIA on what do you need from them? What do you want to see? So we've been going back and forth with her, providing the paperwork for MDIA. But anyhow, long story short, they need some type of documentation, and I'm guessing that it's probably like their state, some type of requirement being a nursing home, that they have to provide extra documentation on the systems that they're using. So if you look at, it would be under doors, locks, and alarms.
Mm-hmm.
There's a request for some documentation, written approval. If you look at 233A, on the 3rd page, she said this explains what they need. They need some type of a letter. It says either from Labor and Industry Department of Health or the appropriate local building authority permitting the use of that locking system.
Would MDIA be involved in
No,
this?
that's who they do.
Do they
And
inspect?
no, as it was explained to me, MDIA will not come and inspect it until this letter is written up, so it needs to come from here, as at least that's what Susan DeMayo explained to me.
All right, the situation here is, we got into this situation before, when the power goes off, the locks won't open, and we used to have to send the fire department down with generators.
Okay.
They go swinging open. They wouldn't lock, right? They have to be, when that happens, you lose power, the doors have to swing.
Oh, well, they didn't, the other
On
ones
lock,
might not have been that way, because that's what they told me, that they had to get that.
But in this case, what we're
Says-
worried about is people could leave. That's why in this situation
Oh,
here.
okay.
Yeah, this is a different situation.
But you don't want them to lock either, because you lose power, you know, fire, let's face it. You know.
Yeah.
You want them
Well, yeah, you want to be able to get out,
Yeah,
yeah.
freewheeling doors, right.
But that's one of the reasons why I mentioned to them that they should have an emergency generator
Right.
on hand, rather than have to call the fire department to come down with their generator.
So back to the initial request of, and I actually have it noted, I have Shannon noted in that number 2, to give a legal opinion of where should that letter come from? Who should it come from? Should it come from Shannon? Should it come from council? I don't know, because I've never dealt with
It
this.
says here.
I don't think it can come from me. It says it needs to come from somebody who inspects and approves the
Yes.
specific device or system, and that's certainly not me.
And it's not us.
And
Not us.
it would be middle department inspection
Right.
agency that's
Correct.
inspecting it. But unless she's confused, she explained it to us that
Now, who's this she again?
Susan DeMayo, who was actually here
I
at the
remember
last
now.
meeting,
Okay.
who
All right.
represents
Yeah.
Cambridge Falls.
And she's thinking we can just write up some letter.
Right.
That we have inspected,
No.
Jason or Shannon, 2 experts. No, I'm being facetious, come on.
It has to be a
This makes no
professional
sense.
agency that inspects and then sends a letter in to get the approval from the state that
Yeah.
someone professional inspected the
There
doors.
has to be some type of professional. Larry, you got any ideas about some
Yeah, have you
inspection
run into-
agency that would come
Have
in?
you
and-
run into this in the past, Larry, with anything with the
No.
nursing home?
No,
No.
no,
I
no.
have not.
An MDIA
They won't do it?
The way it was explained to me is that the letter has to come first.
That doesn't make
That
sense.
doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
Because the letter would be.
MDIA would do the inspection and then write the letter that they inspected it.
And we would say, we have it on good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
On good information from
Yeah.
MDIA that it was inspected pursuant to the rules.
Yeah, because,
And that we could then support it as the local,
yes,
agency.
we concur that they have done this.
That they have
Yeah,
inspected.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll try to have another conversation and figure it out. That's how it
Yeah,
was
because,
explained to me.
and you know, you read this first paragraph in discussion, and I think it's quite evident that the locking system will automatically and immediately release when the fire alarm system is activated. Such inspection and approval must be obtained even if the inspection agency indicates in writing that no such inspection, yeah. Inspection agency, I could underline it right there, because see, that's the thing. We are not an we as Big Beaver Borough are not.
But I'm gonna draw
Well,
you
maybe-
back, I'm gonna draw you back to 233A.
Okay,
In the very last sentence, it says that the letter says you're just permitting them to use that type of locking system. Not that, it wasn't explained to me that you're saying you've inspected it, you say it's
now
working.
where is this? You lost me.
In the very middle of the page,
Okay.
233A,
Yeah,
it says off to the left. Go to the very last two sentences, and it says that let's start at appropriate local building authority permits the use
no, I
of.
can't find it, I'm sorry.
Under,
230,
Oh.
232,
233A.
233A.
Oh,
It's a
Right under,
box.
you mean right under docks?
Yes.
Doors, docks, and
Yes,
alarms?
in
Okay.
that
All
box.
right, give
Look
me a
at the-
moment, I can read it.
Okay, go
You don't
ahead.
have to read it.
Okay.
see, labor and industry is one I think that's gonna be the big inspection on it.
Right. But what she's saying, do we permit such a system? Yes, it has to be inspected, we agree with
Oh,
that.
yeah, we permit it.
But do we permit
We'll
such a
permit
system?
anything, yeah, I mean, what do
Okay,
we know?
I think that's what she's asking.
Right.
Is this permitted? Not that we're
No,
inspecting it,
we're
we
not
inspecting
allow
it.
such a
Then
system.
down below is where
Right.
you get into who is to inspect it. Yeah, that's a separate issue.
Yes.
Labor and industry it says here.
Well, we
No,
have a
not-
third party that we haven't.
I think if Susan reads the second paragraph
Okay,
under discussion, it would be understood.
okay.
That it has to come from after the inspection. A plain reading of it says it needs to be inspected and
Okay.
approved, and then that, whoever does that can then either write the letter or designate someone to write the letter.
Would it be okay if Susan called you?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, because I think that would be better than going through.
Yeah, sure.
You know, yeah, Yeah.
I'll tell her to call you.
Sure.
yeah, yeah. I think that'd be best.
I do too, because of the legal aspect of the whole thing. You just want to
Yeah.
go the right direction. That's why I have Shannon's name in that particular discussion. Number 3, the Dominion Energy West Loop project.
Mhm.
They're requesting a temporary, which she said is approximately 1 year. They want to do a lay-down area on that lot next to Mr. Fiesel's on Route 19.
18.
I mean, Route 18. If you're looking at where Mr. Fiesel is off to the left.
Yeah,
Yeah, the old truck stop road.
Right. They want to use that as a lay-down area for equipment and product for their project. They're saying it's going to be approximately 1 year. I guess my only commentary, and I probably bounce this off of Larry, is I guess my question is, if you're having all of that truck traffic, even if you say, okay, we're not gonna make you get a permit because you're calling it a temporary use, we're just gonna say, okay, you can do it for this period, is that's gonna be an awful lot of traffic coming in and out of there? So usually when there's a use, or permanent use, if it's more than so many trips of traffic, you make
That's-
them get an HOP.
That's Homewood.
It's Homewood. I I thought I looked it up and it was not.
Oh.
The section,
No,
the
you're
section.
talking about between the turnpike and Feasels.
Right, the
Okay.
section in the middle?
Yeah, that road comes out, where that road comes out,
Yeah.
that's Homewood.
In other words, the north of that road coming out is Homewood.
West of that road coming out. Oh, however you want to phrase it.
Okay.
That could be.
Well, I don't know. That's goofy right there. I'll tell you what, folks.
Well, you remember how
Yeah.
that parking lot next door to Feasels was cut off completely? And that runs diagonally across there through that intersection that goes up to the church or whatever you want to call it. It runs diagonally through that intersection. So the front part of the old truck stop was in Homewood.
Yeah, but I think she's more in the middle, and again, as she explained it to me,
Yeah, but the front part's where you'd be going on to the highway, right?
Yeah,
using that road, using that existing paper street.
yeah, they've done that
The
before.
front part,
Turnpike's
he's
done
right, the
it.
front part is Homewood.
Right.
Them big beavers where the laydown would be.
Right.
But the actual issue of pulling out onto the highway would be Homewood.
Would be Homewood's issue.
That's, yeah, you're right.
Okay, so then they'd have to deal with that with Homewood.
Yes. As
Okay,
far as traffic is
well, we know
concerned.
where that's gonna go, so,
No.
No problem.
okay, and so do we have any position on allowing them to use that as a temporary use for a period of time without getting any type of permitting? Because
It's been done several times.
a building permit is
Yeah.
for a permanent,
Yeah,
Yeah,
if they were doing
that's right.
something permanent,
Yeah.
so.
Let me think.
I wouldn't think so.
no, we've let people come in there before. The only thing was when they did the office trailers, I think there was some kind of a thing.
I think that they
But
want to do.
as far as
they wanna
parking the
do
trucks
a
and the
trailer.
equipment, there wasn't any,
They want to do a trailer though too.
yeah, I'm sure they will. And they'll probably keep tools and stuff.
So
in
tell
there.
me your thoughts, share with me your thoughts, because I told her I'd present this and call her back tomorrow.
So what are they gonna be doing? Just parking trucks there or?
And some equipment,
Equipment.
whatever, and
Construction
product,
equipment.
whatever they're using,
Yeah.
product-wise.
Hmm.
And there's piles of gravel towards the back now, if you look, but that's
Yeah.
actually the turnpike, because I asked her, have you already started laying product down? Because I'm seeing piles, and she said, no, that's actually different, that's the turnpike project.
I don't know, what do you think? Is there any reason to be concerned about anything?
We've never had any problems before. As long as they make provisions for that trailer, that's all.
Yeah, I don't know what you need for that.
I don't think we had very much. I mean,
There, we don't have very much on trailer,
Yeah.
but that's been done before.
Yeah.
Yeah, work trailers or
Right,
whatever they
right.
building.
Any opinion? Larry?
The access is on a state road,
Oh, yeah.
Onto Route 18.
so that'd be a PennDOT.
And
Or PennDOT
as
road.
Jason said, he's thinking that's, if they
The
would be
mayor and I
going in through
agree the
Homewood.
front Or the old truck stop.
And it'd still be a PennDOT,
Right.
if PennDOT wants a driveway permit, or if PennDOT wants.
Yes.
But
Yeah, I
that
would
be
say the
through
only thing
Homewood.
is,
To
maybe,
PennDOT.
But I'm saying Homewood would have to be the applicant
Yeah.
for the, because it's their,
Because it's an HOP.
because if it's an HOP type of a document, then Homewood has to be the applicant, not us.
That's
So
right.
that makes sense.
well, maybe the only thing maybe that we might want, and I don't know if we would be allowed to ask for this, is proof, evidence that the people involved with the laydown, I'm assuming, well, I don't know what it would be, Dominion or some contractor, that they are, everything square with PennDOT. Even though it's not our opening to theirs, they're on our turf,
Right.
going across Homewood's turf to
Right.
get the route, to get to the 4-lane. So I don't know, would that be under our jurisdiction, purview, I don't know what word to use,
Kind of stretching it a little bit.
I guess. Then we don't care what happens. But I think we should care. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from.
Because
If
if-
there's a serious accident there, then.
Yeah. We won't, well, we'll get sued, everybody gets sued when they're serious.
I don't know if PennDOT would issue an
What's that?
opinion if they don't, not requiring a permit.
Pardon?
I don't know if PennDOT would issue an opinion if they're not gonna require a permit. I
See,
mean, we could ask they provide approvals of the county for one, if it's a Borough site, there's gonna be earth disturbance, whatever,
Okay.
you need as plan approval.
Yeah,
And
okay,
the second
I
item
see
would be
that, yeah.
PennDOT approval.
but since that's not a bona fide road, that paper street, does that make a difference? So wouldn't
It's
they?
basically a driveway.
Yeah, it was, okay, basically it'd be a driveway?
It'd be driveway permit through PennDOT.
Yeah, they still, because they're
Is it
going
there
out
already?
onto the road, yeah.
Pardon?
Is
Yeah.
it existing?
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of, sort of deteriorated.
It's partially paved.
Yeah, it's
Right.
crazy.
So PennDOT might not.
They may not even care.
Donna, have you spoken?
Because it's existing.
Have you
It's
spoken with
existing,
PennDOT?
okay.
I have
Alright.
not, this individual, Karen, called me today.
Okay.
I told her I would present this to council for any
Yeah.
opinions. And she was very, very nice. I'm sure if you asked her to provide whatever documentation you want to see, because she called to say, what do you need from us?
Yeah.
I think that if we asked her for what it is you feel like you want to see, I think she'd probably provide it to you. She's very, very friendly and just wants to make sure they're following the right processes, so.
Now, Shannon, do you think we should ask for some type of documentation that they're square with PennDOT?
I don't see why it wouldn't hurt.
I don't think, see,
Yeah.
I just, when that lawsuit hits, where everyone that doesn't move immediately gets involved.
Yeah, that would be the thing to do, yeah.
So you might ask her to
Clear everything with
clear everything with, or,
Do
yeah,
we
we
want
just,
documentation?
yeah, we would want documentation that they got it cleared with PennDOT,
Right.
that they're okay pulling all their trucks in. and
Right.
out there.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's what we want to see, something in writing,
Yeah,
some
from
sort of
PennDOT.
documentation
Right.
that you've cleared it with PennDOT.
Yep.
That's all,
Okay.
yeah.
Number 4 would be the Ramada Inn, the old Holiday Inn, and again, this is the last few pages of the packet, and I have to apologize, there's a typo in my report that says PennDOT nailed, well, I guess that's correct.
It's not wrong. It's sort of slangy, but
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
slang,
wrong.
it's not real professional, but anyhow.
Cited, maybe?
I find it curious that they must be driving around PennDOT, because it's.
Either that or they're getting complaints from somebody. We've had that.
It must be,
With the
because.
racetrack up there. Remember how much trouble we had
Right.
with that sign?
I think they're driving around.
But I don't understand, the sign is on our road. It's on Eastwood. As far
Right,
as I
and
know,
if I can read this, it does say that.
Uh-huh.
It says, the PennDOT sent them a letter, and I don't know why, like you're saying, because it's technically on Eastwood,
Yeah,
but I met with them today. I had a meeting with Ramada Inn today. And she, I guess, had a conversation with PennDOT after that, when they identified that they thought now maybe it was in the borough's right away.
Mhm.
The Ramada Inn was requesting 2 things, and the first one is, can they keep that sign there, and if yes, they need a letter on letterhead sent to PennDOT saying that the borough doesn't have a problem with it being in the right of way. I told them, I don't know that the borough would want things in their right of way, but that wouldn't
That's
be my
not our
decision.
decision, that's up to them. Now, but the one thing, I was telling Jason about this, they own property down in the area of that sign.
Yes, they sure do.
And
It's just a sliver.
Just a sliver.
It's just a sliver, because we
But
talked
they
about
may
that.
be on the property of the old Hilltop Motel.
Right.
It's very loose there, but the borough right-of-way covers the
Right.
sign and everything, so
Right.
I don't know how you want to look at that, but
So the number two option then is if you do not want them to keep that sign that they've erected in the right of way, in your right of way, if that's determined where it is.
Well,
Then they want to put a new sign, which we've had this. Larry actually went down, when was that, Larry? Years ago, to talk to them, remember? Because it was gonna be up on the hill.
Yeah.
You told them that it should go up higher. Do you remember
That
that?
might have been John, yeah.
It was a long time ago. We've been through this a couple
Yeah.
of times. So if the answer's no on the right-of-way letter request, then they want to look at doing a permanent sign in that little swatch, which is part of the Beaver Hotel, crosses over the street onto the other side, and they have a little piece of land that they're not going to be able to meet the sign setback requirements, so they'll have to get a variance if they want to do a permanent
Yeah, I don't have a
sign.
problem with that.
So what's your pleasure with the right-of-way thing? Just telling them no, nothing in the right-of-way with the
What do you
sign that
think?
they have?
well, they are actually in the right of way then.
That's
don't
what she
know.
said to me. I haven't
well-
done any surveying, but then
Yeah.
Lisa is her name. She's the new,
Yeah,
the
okay,
new
yeah.
manager, and Sam, who's,
I met her once.
yeah, Sam came over as the CEO. He stayed from the old establishment. They both said that they were told it's in the right of way. I don't know. I'm not a surveyor.
Well, yeah, the big thing we come up with the racetrack, if you didn't have a sign
Yeah.
that people could see
Yeah.
to get to the
That's
Ramada
what
Inn,
they're
then
saying.
you're gonna have accidents because people are trying to figure.
That's right, Donnie, I agree
Trying to
with
figure
that.
out where the
That's
hell
what
to go to get to that
I
end.
agree with that, yeah.
So that's what they're saying. They need something,
So
their
that
position
people know where to
is.
make a left there and go up
Right.
the entrance, yeah.
So they need something there, so it's either A, they keep it there with a letter from you guys saying it's okay to keep it in your right of way, which I don't know what your position is on things in the right of way, if you're doing things, like, if you have to go in there and do something, Donnie, in that right of way.
Well, I think they're
you
off
have
the
to-
berm though. I don't think they're on the berm, are they gone?
There's a curb there.
But I say they're not, oh, that's right, that's curved there, yeah.
So, that can run
Well-
into problems when you put things in the right of way.
Behind the curve.
Yeah, it's behind the curve.
Yeah.
What are you saying, Donnie? Is that okay or not? What do you?
That would be all right.
Yeah, 'cause-
Okay, you're the expert, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're okay on a letter?
As long as it's a decent sign. The sign that's there now really isn't very nice.
It's the same sign, they're not.
Is it
gonna
the same sign?
Okay, let me backpedal. If you pick number one in the report, leaving it in the right of way, that's leaving it as is, no change in the sign. It's like a banner that's on two
Yeah, I know,
poles
I know.
saying Ramada in this way. So choice number one would be, yes, you can keep it in the right of way, and that's what's gonna stay there. Or choice number two is saying to them, no, nothing in the right of way, go for the nicer lighted permanent sign with a variant. So those are the two options.
Well, that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, that sounds kind of crappy.
The trouble there is, they have to run electrical line down there, I don't know. just for
Well, it don't
directions.
necessarily, well, you would think you'd want it
There
like,
used to be a sign up on the hill that if they didn't put it, if they moved it from out of that right away, put the Holiday Inn sign back
Like,
up
we
on the
want
hill
people
next
to
to
come off the
where it's used
turnpike
to
to know where the
It was
Ramada
high.
Inn
yeah,
is.
it's hard to see when you're coming off of the turnpike.
Yeah, that's true.
You have to
Stick the
really,
signs pretty ugly.
I could give you an experience on that, but
Is
I'm
it?
gonna.
No, yeah, when I come home from work, it's
Now,
not
it has
the
been
nicest sign.
described as not very aesthetically pleasing by Michelle. I use different words.
You were nicer about it than I was.
And Michelle, they're gonna upgrade that sign too.
Are they?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're gonna
All right.
upgrade.
Because it is pretty crappy
And they're
looking.
gonna update the bigger one too, but this is a different issue, and it's more like you're saying. They're saying they need an identifying
the left.
sign
At that
Right,
point.
or
to
left
show
or
people
something.
where to go. So it's number one, yes, in the right of way's fine, it stays the kind of ucky looking sign that it is now.
What you can do is
Okay.
talk there and say, look, if you would fix El Crapola sign, you could stay there. But if that's gonna be the only sign that you're gonna have there, and people find it not aesthetically appealing,
Right.
So then we're gonna go to 2.
Then we're going to
It cost them
number
$1,000 just for the variance.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not.
I think they want to keep what they have. I think at least this is what is coming out of my meeting today, that if they have to upgrade the crapola sign, they're gonna go the whole way and, you know, add the lights and make it permanent, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
then so be it.
Then so be it, it's on them.
Okay,
Yeah, but they do have a choice. If they would upgrade crapola, we can live with it.
right.
Otherwise, you're going to numero dos.
Number 2.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and then I'm gonna let you guys just read number 5, that's a
Okay.
little lengthy. And if anybody has any questions about it, you can talk to me about it. But it's just to have some documentation, written documentation, so that if there are any questions, I'll just give you an example. Today, Owen, I was trying to print the PennDOT letter that's in this packet from my phone, and I actually had to send it to him in another location. My phone wasn't reading it. So there's just been some, you know, with texts and emails and voicemails, and it's just coming from all different directions. And I can't explain why sometimes I get something and sometimes I don't. So I think just in order to control that a little bit better, and I've already done 2 of these service request forms with actually written documentation is the second page. This is the response, this is the position. Jason and Roz and Becky and Debbie all received a copy of that, so if anybody else from council wants to see what that looks like. But then that way, it's handy, it's right there, it's written, so there's no communication, well, I thought it meant this, or I thought, no, this is what it meant. And I just think it can help out. And then, Owen and I will keep them in our files too. So then if later on down the road, somebody calls with a question about it, you pull it out, here's the position, here it is in black and white, what the position is. So, anytime somebody would call with a complaint or a question, that can get filled out, sent to us, and we can address it that way, and then everybody's on the same page.
I have another suggestion here too, because I tested it out. Debbie, on phone calls here, you have extension 1, 2, 3. I was thinking, could we expand that we can have Owen on his extension, or the, call it Comcast,
Yeah.
and have another extension in there
For voicemail.
for
Because the
voicemail.
recording actually.
Right, and you would change, of course,
Right.
one for this, 2 for this, 2 for
Because the
that.
recording now at the end says, tax collector and zoning gives the phone number, but I'll see if I can.
Yeah, just for an
just change
extension,
the
because you
button
give her
option.
phone number.
Right.
And a couple other phone numbers, whereas just give them an extension 5.
And it will come to this desk.
Yes, to Owen's desk, yeah, have Comcast see what they can do to extend
And I
it.
think what happens, and I did say this to Debbie the other day, that I think what happens is that voicemail is so lengthy
Yeah.
that I think
Yeah,
someone calls with a, let's say they call with a complaint.
Dissertation about the
And they
home,
get
yeah.
through like 10 seconds of that, and they just hit for Becky.
Yeah.
They hit, because they know
Zero.
they know she's gonna answer, so they hit, instead of waiting and listening to that whole
Right.
selection, they automatically just hit who they can get, and
Well, they
that's
hear
why-
your phone number and they didn't catch it.
Yeah.
And this is what happened, he said, the heck with it, hit 1,
Call back, yeah.
and this way you could be extension 4, 5,
Right.
whatever.
And then he can just check them.
Yeah,
Check-
good.
You could call from your own phone to check your
Right.
voicemail here.
Yeah, so just trying to improve
That's good.
Right.
the flow of things and just to kind of maybe cut through some of the confusion
Right.
and interpretation. Because like I said, if my response is in black and white on a piece of paper,
Yeah.
then there's no interpretation of, well, I think she meant this, or I think
Yeah,
she said this.
yeah.
It's right there, this is the position, so I think it'll help. And that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions for me.
But is that all right that you want an extension in here?
That'll be fine, as I've said in the past, whatever you guys think to make it flow better. You know, I say try it and see. I mean, a lot of times that's what it takes, it's just trying it. No, this doesn't work. Yes, this does work.
That's right.
You know, kind of experimenting with it. I say yes, Dennis,
Okay.
Okay,
if that would help.
okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Solicitor?
Yes. I'm not sure if you guys are gonna wanna get into a discussion about that ordinance for the, sanitary sewer system,
Yeah.
so you wanna pass on that? Okay. So I have the conflict of interest waiver for Lindy Paving. If you remember from the last meeting,
I object.
okay, you had requested that we add language that the borough would directly pay the professional engineer and then Lindy would reimburse. And Ryan Harper had no problem with that, so
Yeah.
I told him I would add that and then get your approval at tonight's meeting. So
Okay.
I would need a motion to approve the conflict of interest waiver for Lennon Smith to work for Lindy Paving and for the borough, for the particular project.
That's me falling asleep, I'm sorry.
I move to accept the conflict waiver letter for Lindy Paving, working with LSSE. Yeah, Ordinance. Thank you.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Michelle?
Yes.
Roz?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna skip the other one.
No.
I did send a letter to the racetrack, and a copy for Becky. I just sent it, so
Okay.
we'll hopefully get something from them. But basically what I asked them for is to produce any documentation they have, a recent sound or noise testing that's been conducted at the property site. Just because council wants to ensure that they are operating within the terms of the special exceptions that have been granted to the property. Okay, so I asked for that within 30 days.
Good.
The cable company, so I went to draft the letter and I said, I need to talk more about this because I wasn't sure which cable company services the borough. Because I had in my notes, letter to cable/electric about emergency lines out. That's what I had written. And so I said, I'll just wait to come back and talk because I didn't know.
Well, we have
who all
Armstrong and
sent-
Comcast.
That's what I mean, I didn't know.
Yeah, we have both.
So you have Armstrong, Comcast, but then you also wanted the electric company, so you would have
Penn Power.
Penn Power and Duquesne Light.
I don't think we have any Duquesne.
Just Penn Power?
Yes.
Okay.
We have.
I mean, Duquesne Light services the steel mill, but I think that's all they service is the steel mill.
Okay.
Just
But you
for
do have
emergency backup.
Armstrong and Comcast.
Oh, yes, yeah, those
We
two.
still have Windstream. We did.
Do you see what I mean? So I have a draft, but I have it blank as to who it's all
Yeah.
going to.
Where's Windstream, sir?
My house.
Oh,
Garage.
Garage?
Right, the
Garage?
See, I knew there was going to be more than one.
Oh, we got a bunch.
I could provide you.
Is that for telephone or
address.
something?
No, I can find it.
Okay.
Oh, okay, for telephone.
But basically, what you wanted was a catch-all letter to all of these organizations that the borough is not responsible when these issues happen.
That's right.
And we want them to be, okay. But like I said, I drafted it,
Yeah.
and then I thought, the borough has more than just Comcast. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I will get on that for next
Good.
meeting. The Westgate Developers Agreement, Attorney Frank Alancia had brought this to me after our last meeting, which is a draft agreement to extend Commonwealth Drive pavement and utilities located within their, the Westgate Business Park. So I sent the developer's agreement to Larry and also to Jeff Fry, who is the engineer for the municipal authority. And Beaver Falls Municipal Authority solicitor and engineer were also already contacted by Attorney Frank Valencia. So Larry can further discuss what he did in the review of the agreement. But one of the biggest issues is that the developer's agreement left out paragraph 13 to 25, and we don't know if that was an inadvertent omission or if they actually don't want those sections in the agreement. So we're still in process.
Okay.
But I have been in communication with Mr. Rice directly, so he knows that we're looking into it. But there are all of these bodies that have to review and sign off on the agreement, and like I said, Larry can talk more about the details and specifications of what he still needs for that developer's agreement to be approved.
Now, what are you actually saying? They want to continue and lengthen Commonwealth Drive? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, across the gas right.
Gonna go across gas, okay, yeah.
They got permission to do that.
We've been waiting for that a long time, so we
Yeah.
want to get that done.
Okay.
Because that opens up that other section of land that we have down there.
That thing went to the planning commission.
Yeah.
Okay, and also I drafted the braking ordinance, and I did send it over to Koppel for just
Okay,
review
review.
and comment.
Okay.
And so when I hear from them, I'll let you know.
Okay.
So that leaves the ordinance establishing inspection fees for improper water infiltration into the sanitary sewer system. This is coming from the municipal authority wanting the borough to consider that. And we discussed it at the last meeting, which is what Jeff was referring to. And I explained to them that that would be something that the borough has to pass and approve. So I took one of my ordinances from another municipality I represent, and I sent that over for review before council can authorize what they want me to do if I need to move forward in drafting for the borough and advertising it for the borough. But essentially what it is anytime you have a sale of property, transfer of property, we require these inspections to make sure that you're not having improper mixing of
Rainwater.
water into your sanitary sewer system. You'd have to establish the fee that you charge. And I spoke with Chad Crawford about what he thought, or his opinion would be. In other municipalities, the fee can be based on whether or not you're going to fix small issues that happen once your inspector finds the problem. So he kind of explained it to me. You know, in Chippewa, I think he said it's $150, but they fix small things while they're doing the inspection. So people would be exempt if they were doing a refinance of their own home and they're the owner, they wouldn't have to do that. But if it's a transfer to a third party or any kind of sale, I mean, it's very common. So a lot of municipalities have it, and it was recommended that the municipal authority get the borough council to do it.
Has everyone read that over? No? Okay.
I know what it is.
Yeah, I read it.
Just 'cause I'm-
What are they exactly talking about? I'm not sure. You mean just stormwater or
Well,
what?
any kind of infiltration.
Any infiltration.
It could be stormwater,
It
it
could
could
be
be your
your
gutters tied into.
basement
Yeah,
drains,
it could
anything
be
like that,
any
yeah.
type of information that
Roof
is
drains.
sanitary into the sanitary sewers, because then it
Basically.
just taxes the system even more when water that shouldn't be tied into the
Yeah,
sanitary
clean
system
water
is.
from the air.
It could have your gutters tied into your
Right, I
septic
can
or
see guys
whatever
that
it may be.
yeah, that's, we consider that
Sort of like what
stormwater,
Pittsburgh
but
has.
like if you, your basement drain cannot be connected.
Correct.
Is anything grandfathered in on this or not?
Well,
Or
not
no?
not if you're transferring it. So
That's if you're
they're not
transferring
coming in,
property.
we're not going to do it for people that just live in their home.
Right, but if you sell an older home,
Yes,
this would have to
Oh, yeah.
yes.
And see, and my in-laws got involved in this years ago in Borough of Whitehall. And they had to redo, because from their gutters without gutter helmet, and they were But seriously,
Well, that's why you do it at the transfer, because then the new buyer, before the inspection
whatever.
is passed, the new buyer can renegotiate with the seller and say, I have to do all of this.
I got 2,000.
You need to come off the purchase
Yeah.
price.
Well, should we somehow make it so that if we have a problem where we have to go out and check every house to see if there is a infiltration problem?
Yeah, I don't think you want to get into.
You're not doing
checking
that.
any of
Well, that's
that.
what they did in Whitehall, but
Yeah,
that's Whitehall.
you're not doing that. This ordinance is
Yeah.
only for when.
Well, I just said,
Yeah.
what I was saying, do we need to include that? Is it possible to put that in?
Well, I'm sure it is.
I'm sure it is, but
That's a lot of expense.
that's a lot of expense.
Oh, I understand
And a lot
that,
of
but,
pushback.
oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
Well, but you know, every bit of water that goes into there, we have to pay for when it goes to Beaver Falls.
Oh, you're right about that, Mr. You're correct.
I mean, to answer you from my experience, I've only seen it at the transfer level or a sale. Larry?
That's what they're doing in the Alcoasand, that whole monster of a project, all those municipalities, it's real estate transfer.
Yeah.
If there's sewer overflows that are happening, that's when you typically go
Go out
out
and do
and you're
the
more
inspection.
active on that, when you have to eliminate overflows.
Now, do you have to have an ordinance for that, or you just have, can you just do that?
Oh, no, you'd have to have an ordinance.
You'd have to have an ordinance.
Let's have an ordinance for that.
Well, the reason I'm saying, we can put it in that ordinance, even if we're not planning on using it right now, it's there for us, and we won't have to pass an ordinance when.
No, I wouldn't do it that way.
Okay.
I wouldn't either.
I don't like laws being passed that don't get
That aren't
enforced. The
gonna be
state does
enforced.
too much of that already.
Well, I'm saying,
I'm just thinking, coming up with like, people have a basement that floods, let's say, and the water goes down there and it goes, they have it from years from the
Oh, I see what you
1950s.
mean, yeah.
Now they're overtaxing
well, it was supposed to be when everybody installed their sewer line, there wasn't supposed to be any connections through that sewer line, even from the basement.
That's right.
Okay.
But I think there's some places that probably.
And Shannon, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, there's been some discussion as to whether or not this ordinance already exists for Big Beaver, but nobody can seem to find it. So,
Well,
doesn't
yeah.
mean there wasn't one, but we have no record of one.
Yeah, I
that
don't know
anybody
that.
can
I
find.
just know that there's no record of
Which means if we
it.
have no record of it, then we have to,
their
so it
building
may
requirements,
have been done
whatever.
before, but we don't have any record of it.
Typically, it's a requirement if you have wet weather issues.
Mhm.
PennDOT doesn't require this for a loan. PennDOT only requires that you have to connect ordinance. So, yeah, this is, usually whenever you start having issues, that's when you bank.
Yeah,
In the back.
gotcha. So, are we saying then we need to move on this in the next meeting or so, or?
Right, your next move would be to authorize me to finalize drafting and advertise for passage,
Well,
if you wanna do it.
what,
if you need more time to
what
think about
fees
it.
are you looking at?
Well,
So-
Well, then,
Go ahead.
before you're not familiar with this, why don't everyone familiarize
Right.
themselves with it? And then next.
Yes.
Talk
meeting-
about it at your next.
Yes.
At our
Okay.
next meeting, the first meeting next month, we can go over.
Yes.
Okay?
Wisest way.
I can just tell you that it does work well
Mhm.
in the other municipalities from a logistical standpoint. It works well.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it does.
To
because
get the place sold, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I have. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right. Okay, Engineer Lemon says,
All right, going to the monthly reports. First item on Norwood Drive. I guess we'll go to the second paragraph and we'll come back to the first paragraph.
Okay.
So the emergency repair work contractor did complete the work. When he dug it up, what he did find, that's right. He found that the pipeline actually settled 1 to 2 feet and it sheared.
Wow. It moved sideways.
So the
too.
water,
Sideways or
all
vertical?
amount of water underneath. It moved sideways too, because it was taking in all the snow after it sheared.
Yeah, 2 feet.
So it must have sheared and then it took a lot of gravel in, went underneath the roadway.
That's a lot of water.
That is a lot of water.
Yes.
So it
What,
it
24
confirmed the
pipe?
need for the deeper drain next to this line. 'Cause the water coming off that hillside, it's
Substantial.
It's substantial.
What would have caused that with that drain?
The water off the
The water
hillside,
off the
coming
hillside.
deep and deeper. It
Yeah.
just- Yeah, yeah.
It goes right to what I was thinking, you know?
And we did have Garvin Ballard out there to look at
Yes.
one of the holes when we saw what happened. I asked him to go out there and he looked at it. Everything was real dry when he dug it up and it was pretty solid underneath there, but the way it settled. Last month you had approved for that emergency repair of $22,300. It came into $28,850. That's a handout I just handed out. You flip to the second page. So when we looked at the pipeline, we thought it'd be like a 10-foot spot repair, 2 of them, but it ended up being, I think, 50 feet. Might have been 60 feet. 20 feet, 20 feet, 10 feet, yeah, 50 feet. And also, you can see they had extra work. They had another 20 feet. They put some more elbows in. The other thing was they had to cut into the roadway because of the amount of stone it took in. We didn't think they were going to have to go into the roadway, but they did. And they did put the asphalt back, so the road's prepared where they did the digging. So it's all buttoned up, it's done. Some of the repairs, I would say, are Band-Aids that when you go to do the parallel drain, we'll do some more work on this.
Yeah, because them 245s that are in there, I don't think we want to keep them or.
No, it was just, it was one of those ways they're just keep chasing, and under emergency contract, it'd be better to bid it out, get a better price.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the invoice of $28,850 to Stefanik Next Generation for the emergency work on Norwood Drive. And I'll send a letter recommending this payment too. So.
I'll make that motion that we pay them the $28,850.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll second.
Thank you. Michelle?
Yes.
Rowan?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Thank you, Larry.
Okay. So back to the first paragraph, the parallel drain. So after the last meeting, the Garvin Ballard reports were sent to the borough, so if they wanted to read through it, I didn't receive any questions, so I don't know if anybody had any questions on the report itself. So the next step would be if you want to proceed with doing that parallel drain. And last month we talked, I think with contingency was $135,000. The first step though would be preparing easement exhibits, approaching the property owner, and I'd have to get with Shannon, get an agreement, and getting them to sign the agreement. So if you want to proceed, I'd say let's do the easement first and then authorize bidding next month. And this is the winter work before next spring. So the council like to proceed with getting the easement for the parallel drain, or like to discuss? Any questions?
That's still at Norwood Drive, right?
That's Norwood Drive, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, how much of an easement, what distance are we talking?
600 feet.
Well, we know where we don't want to go.
It does not go to that.
Okay.
Yes.
That,
We've had that discussion, yeah.
okay, thank you.
You're gonna put cross drains under the road too from the catch basins, right?
No, this, remember we talked last month, we were talking about the cutoff drain going across versus just going in parallel. And it was $30,000 cheaper to go parallel. And tie into the old system. The system that was installed will go to the stream.
Yeah.
Getting away from the railroad. We talked about, we looked at if we could chase it using the existing pipe that goes to the rail, where the old pipe was that went to the railroad. It was cheaper to go the other way.
Well, the only reason I said that is if it's plugged up again, it would run out that catch basin and go over there rather than under the road to get out. That was the only reason I thought about that, if you get what I mean.
I mean, there are a lot of cross drains under that road already. That'll be, this line will put them below.
Yeah.
Right now, those drains are below the pipe that's in the ground now. So this will be below those cross drains.
Below the catch basin, actually. Or are you gonna?
Yes,
make the catch
yes,
basin
it'll be below the catch basin.
Okay.
It'll be 10 feet deep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then there wouldn't be any need for that catch basin. I mean, you know, for a pipe under that. The water's going, going into the catch basin.
The overland flow would, it still drain from the road into the catch basin. That road's correct.
Oh, from the road, yeah, but not from that pipe.
The subsurface drain, I mean, it still has that's a perforated pipe, so it'll still take under drain. Both of them, I think, will be active. The amount of water that came off.
Oh,
the
yeah,
hillside,
yeah, you can be sure of that.
We have a year like we did last year.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be active. So, and the third part of this, and I talked to Shannon about it briefly, I think, is approaching the cemetery, about stormwater management up on their site.
Yes.
Okay.
To try to curtail this
Yes.
in the future. And I'll look at the historic photographs, how it's changed over the years. And then,
There you go, that'd be interesting to know
Yes.
before we even approach.
right.
Donna?
There's actually an ordinance for that runoff. We use that with Katerra's code, that you can't create runoff onto a public.
yeah, yeah.
It creates a public nuisance, so if
Yeah.
that runoff is creating a public nuisance and safety with the road caving in, you could approach them with a section
Good
of
point.
ordinance.
Yeah.
If they push back, but
If
they
then
push
they
back.
might cooperate with you,
Yeah,
but
you never know.
there is the section of ordinance that you could use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, would we have someone that would go up there and sort of help them as to what they might be able to do up on top?
I think we try to have a meeting with them and walk around their site. And
Okay, that'd be good.
See how it goes. I guess.
Pardon?
See how it goes.
Yeah, oh, yeah, you
Yeah,
go in light, you can always get tough, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That'd be very
I
good.
think it'd be the first step, so.
So we need to do what?
As long as council's okay, I'll go ahead and prepare the exhibit.
Okay.
Give
Need a
Shannon
motion
prepare
for
the
that?
agreement. Yeah.
Okay. Todd, you want
Um,
to, I don't know how to state it.
Need a motion to prepare the the easement exhibit and agreement for the proposed parallel drain on Norwood Drive.
There you go.
I move what Larry.
What Larry said, yes, of course. Okay. Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you. Michelle?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Okay, flipping to page 2. 2019 roadway improvements, this is for the Traeger plan. So we do have the 2 bids. Bids were open on August 14th. Council actions required prior to your November regular council meeting to either award or reject.
Yeah.
So you can do
So
your
everyone
workshop.
keep that in mind.
Let me ask a question. If no decision is made, where does it sit? It goes away, right?
We would have to then rebid, correct, if we don't make a decision?
No, we
on
don't
this bid?
have to redo, do we?
No, if we decide that we still want to move forward with the project, we would have to go back out and we would have to rebid,
Oh,
correct?
I would think so,
Okay, that's
yeah.
all.
Okay.
But it would expire.
But I don't think it'll
Wait a
expire.
minute, we got,
automatically.
excuse me, whoa, we got different conversations going here.
All right.
Who wants to speak to the issue?
The bidding process would expire, what is this, where do
The
we
bid
stand?
hold period would expire and their bid bond 90 days after the bid opening.
Right.
So then, if we don't do anything, we all go to jail, or what? I don't understand, you know?
No.
Have you ever, I know you've more likely never experienced it.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I don't want to
We
be.
don't deliver a decision on this, right,
Yeah,
within that time.
you see my point. Supposedly, we,
What I'm thinking is about how our ordinance reads in some things, if you don't make a decision in
Oh.
45 days, it automatically passes.
yeah, that's a good.
Well, I mean-
Yeah, but that's a land development or something.
Yeah, I understand that, but we don't know how.
Yeah, but we don't know.
Might be
We don't-
used.
No one seems to know right now. Notice you're not getting an answer here.
Well, we've never had it happen because you
I know.
don't put out for bid unless you accept a bid.
Yeah.
But there are times where they don't come out the way, it's not a responsible bid, so you don't have to award it.
Well, but that's different. We're not dealing with non-responsible bids. We're not sure we
Wanna do it.
want to spend the money.
Once
Right.
the whole thing with Traeger plan came up, this is all, our Traeger plan, with Norwood Drive, and we found out kind of what the problems were, and then the question became, okay,
Yeah.
that's more of a safety issue project, so depending on where the monies are gonna come in for that versus this. If-
So the question is, are you tied into having to
Yeah.
Reject
do the
it.
project?
Reject it.
Do
I
we have to
don't-
technically
I
reject
don't
it?
believe that you have to do the project.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
I
So
wouldn't
then we
think.
would actually have to technically reject it in an official.
Reject all,
Say that
reject
we're
the bid,
rejecting
bids.
it. We can't just do
Reject all
nothing.
Right.
bids.
Gotcha.
Because we have to have some kind of.
Award or reject?
Yes,
Gotcha.
there you
Okay,
go.
thank you. Yeah,
I like
that's
that.
okay.
Well, and Larry has it, I can't take credit, he has it written in his letter.
That's what he said, council
Let Larry
action, yeah.
state that.
Gotcha.
On, under number 2, page 2,
The very last sentence.
council action required prior to November council meeting, award or reject?
Order
Got
sent.
And again,
Okay.
that's our general meeting,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
So you'd have to do it before that, so
So we'd have to do it
or
last
your
week.
workshop.
Your
or
workshop.
a workshop, okay.
Now, wait a minute, where is this? Page 2?
Page
Page
2, under number 2,
2.
under
Oh,
the
number
box.
2.
Under
Okay.
the box, the two sentences.
Council action required prior to November council meeting, award or reject. So at our next workshop meeting,
We have to make a decision.
Or get off the pot. Okay,
Yep.
yes. Cut fish or bait.
And if you'd want to do it next year, I'd recommend bidding in February, March. Probably would get the best prices. So.
Okay.
2019 crack sealing, we're coordinating with the contractor. I've got a schedule from him, so I'll get with him
Okay.
when he's gonna come out. Westgate Business Park Road Extension, we reviewed the draft agreement and bond amount. You go to the blue sheets, attachment A, that's the letter. And we just have the 3 line items. First on the bond, we had a recommendation on the bond. Second item, just the name of the drawings, make sure the correct titles in the agreement. And then the third item, Sean caught those paragraphs that were missing. So, might be okay, but we weren't. We want to point it out.
I will send the blue letter to Attorney Frank Lancia and tell him that that's what our borough engineer has discovered before moving forward.
Item 5 is zoning ordinance. Yes.
I had something with Westgate, but if you want to do it now or wait till mine.
For the road extension?
No, for Westgate. There's a sewer problem.
Let's save it.
Have it? Okay.
Save it.
Save it.
Save it?
Save it.
Okay, for mine.
Yeah.
Report.
Zoning ordinance, update John gave me, they're about 3/4 way through the zoning uses table. Then the planning commission's gonna go through the conditional use section and then adopt the entire ordinance. And that'll be done. Subdivision land development, he's been working on that a little bit, but he's been spending more time on the zoning ordinance, so that's wrapped up. Wessex, no change. Turnpike, no change. Pittsburgh International Race Complex for the conditional use application. Next month, we'll have to make a decision. That's when the 90 days will expire. We haven't received a resubmission yet.
So what's that mean?
I mean, that the deemed approval discussion. Tower Access Group, there's no change. They had that pre-construction. At this point, we would just wait for them to request a bond reduction. Ailey Hill Road, we already talked about. Dominion Gas, we contacted by Dominion regarding some pipeline crossings they want to do at McKinley, Ailey Hill, Foxwood, and Park Road. We're going to send permit applications to them for road opening, driveway, and heavy hauling for all those. There might be other areas that they have to do the driveway and heavy hauling depending on what route they're going to use. One item I didn't have on my report, there have been building permits coming in for properties that are in floodplain. Your building permit application doesn't have in there, I think, coverage that shows where the property owner shows if they're in or outside of the floodplain. What I'd recommend, if you're okay with me doing it, preparing some type of form, so if it's a certification affidavit, the property owner signs off what they're proposing to do is outside of the floodplain. Because right now, I work with the office and Donna to try to figure out, are they outside of the floodplain? But I think for the borough, liability-wise, I'd rather property owner.
And we're proposing also, I think, the planning commission, and we want to get at this real quick. I wanted to bring something back to this meeting that, we need to appoint, someone to manage the floodplain up front in the process. So we'll work with you guys and get that plugged in the right place.
For the land developments.
Yes, yes. So then you're going to remind me what you just said you'd be doing.
This is for building, strictly building
Building
permits.
permits, yes.
Whenever an application is received by the office, Becky checks the list, and you check the list, right? And if the property tax parcel comes up as having floodplain on it, that's when MDIA stops. And then we have to determine if they're inside or
Wait,
outside.
that's not when you get the application, is it? You, right now, are checking it at the end.
We usually look at it first.
Yeah.
Not officially as the floodplain people,
Right.
but we usually look at it first when it comes in, just peruse that list.
Just to make sure.
Just to see if
So
something
people
jumps up.
understand that they have this other
Situation,
hoop
yeah.
to jump through. Yeah.
But the issue, if I can just say something, the most recent issue was the cell tower. And that was 2 years ago, so I just think it just kind of got mucked up in the length of how long that took.
Yes.
It just went through. But the planning commission, anytime when they're getting a development, because usually that's coming first before the bigger permits, is Tower Access Group went through the zoning board, it went through the planning commission a couple of times, so it just got lost in that shuffle. So I think that if the planning commission has a list, if the more eyeballs that are looking at that, the better.
Yes.
For example, we're talking about the racetrack building, well, we found that that's actually in a floodplain. That confuses me because the racetrack sits way up on top of a hill, so that's actually, the racetrack parcels are listed on that floodplain list. So they're coming to the planning commission with this new building, and they've been through the planning commission a couple of times. So I think that set of eyes also needs to be looking at it, at least unofficially.
Yes.
Becky signs off on it because she's the official floodplain manager, but there's eyeballs that need to be looking at it before.
Yeah, early on.
Well, since we're redoing the Saldo, we can add on there a stamp where the property owner signs
Yes.
that they're inside or out. If they're in the floodplain, they have to show it on the drawing. We'll add that to the ordinance.
Because there's just so many, and we've talked about this. For example, over in Chippewa, there's like three or four parcels. And it's mostly down by Brady's Run in those sections. We have like 3 or 4 pages, 3 or 4 pages of parcels. So if you're not cross-referencing things when you're looking at all those tables, it gets missed and mucked up.
Right. And I think if we design a system where.
Well, that's what I was saying, that's why I went electronic form. Do a search on it, do a Control F.
Yes.
You put in a number and
Yes.
boom, there it is, your by parcel number, and it will give you the address and the owner.
Yes.
And to simplify, without making a database spread or a
Yeah.
spreadsheet, you can make
Right.
it simple.
We have an Excel.
Or Excel, right. But just have a search function that, once you put in there, it'll flag it as, and if it doesn't flag anything, then it's not in a flood zone.
We'll work this out, I think, definitely with planning and Larry's office and input from Dawn. We'll work that out, and like I say, I'd like to see it up front in the process, and we'll make sure it gets there.
And then if I could just add one more thing too, we were discussing this the other day, that because there's so many parcels, and some of the parcels are completely in the floodplain, some of them have just portions, and some of them, like the racetrack, might be one little section towards the back. If there was some way that we could identify the more serious ones and kind of red flag them, so that you're seeing, this is a parcel that's like completely covered in the floodplain, so that we're not dealing with, because what happens is, it's like way back, like the racetrack. And then we usually get it some documentation from the applicant showing like through a survey or whatever that they're far enough out. But again, if some of those might be like red flag, like this is a big coverage area, cause it's kinda guessing, you see it on the list and then we have to get involved with talking to you guys. It might make your job easier if it's red flag somehow that it's a.
Well, they have
Am I
those
making
FEMA
sense?
maps, they're just hard to look at.
They sure are.
Yeah.
They are, it's confusing, that's why we ask the professionals to look at it and figure it out, but it is confusing.
And I think for land development, it's pretty easy for me to compare that to the FEMA maps. With the building permits, that's more difficult.
Yes.
A lot of times in
Right.
the survey drawings.
We'll get that all pulled together and a definite plan that works. We need to do this very quickly.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Looks like mayor's report.
All right, I got another complaint about the grass on that house in on Lindy Drive. And I told him, I said, that's owned by the bank, and we haven't had any luck so far, have we?
Where's
One
the
behind your place?
Where's the lady, where is that?
Your place.
Lindy Drive.
Remember we,
I don't even know where Lindy Drive is.
You mean Lynn Drive?
Lynn Drive.
Oh, I'm
Lynn,
sorry.
sorry. Okay,
Okay,
What
yeah,
he's talking about.
no,
Lynn,
Lynn Drive.
yeah, Lynn
Okay.
Drive, that
Okay.
house back at your place. And I said, well, that's owned by the bank, right?
I don't know.
Remember we went down and looked at it one time?
Yeah,
That the grass was growing in the trees were growing in the swimming pool and everything?
yeah, okay, now I know where we are.
Okay. And I said, that's in the hands.
What's the address?
Huh?
No, it's not in the bank, I don't think.
Oh, isn't it?
I don't know what the address is.
What's the address?
I don't know where,
Um,
I don't know how to find it.
One of the previous council meetings it was brought up.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was brought up and I couldn't remember.
And I understood them to say that there was someone living there.
Okay.
I have an idea who it is, so maybe we can.
Yeah, it's,
Oh, okay. Well, anyhow,
We'll
it
identify.
just was brought up
Okay.
and I told him
Yes.
we
Yeah.
were working on it.
yeah, Donna, you're gonna have to look at it.
I'll have a look.
It's right up, unfortunately, Lynn Drive circles around, but the first turn, when you're coming from Wallace Run Road on Patricia, you make a right, it's the second house. One on the corner is Adams for sale.
Oh, yeah, I know where
That's the
Adams is.
next one up.
Next one to Adams,
Yeah,
okay.
That's the one. I don't know the numbers. I know the names of
That's
the people
okay.
who live there, but I don't know
Adams,
the numbers of the street.
He'll find it.
Although Adam left us, you know that.
Yeah, I know.
He's a Chippewayan
I
now.
know, one of those. Like Joe Biden leaving Pennsylvania when he was 12.
37th Street.
Yeah.
Okay, just before I came to the meeting, I got a call from Bob Rice
Mhm.
in reference to that building that they're building in there. All right, our sewage our sewage man told him that he cannot get a permit, even though it was reviewed by our engineers and everything, that he says they have to have a 6-inch line as the minimum, but I think that's for gravity flow. This is a force main, and I think it's only 4-inch. Now, you approved it at 4-inch. He's getting cement there sometime the end of this week, and he'll be covering that line up.
Is he saying the authority didn't approve it?
No.
No one in the
everything
authority
was
saw
done.
it.
What's that?
No one in the authority saw it. Chad said he never saw that drawing that we just looked at.
They put all that in and did everything before they even had a permit in for anything to do with the sewer stuff. They had nothing had been
Right,
inspected.
there was no permit.
They didn't go through Big
application.
Beaver at all. When they put all that in,
He said it was in the developer's agreement and everything.
then that was approved, but I'm saying that they didn't apply for it, there was no tap-in fee paid, they didn't have any of that stuff taken
Oh.
care of.
Okay.
Big Beaver didn't even know any of that stuff, as far as the municipal authority goes, I
You
say
mean
Big
Big
Beaver,
Beaver Municipal.
municipal
Oh,
authority,
oh,
excuse
oh,
me, didn't
okay.
even know that that was all going in.
Oh,
They had
okay.
no idea about any of it. So Chad, did he finally go down and inspect any of that?
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's where they
And
found that there's a
told them,
problem,
right, they
yeah.
stopped the whole thing and,
Well, the thing is how does that work? If you approved them as,
I don't approve sewage.
oh,
I'm
well,
the
somebody in
borough-
your,
I'm the borough engineer.
oh, okay, then it must be,
That would be the municipal authority's engineer.
And if you didn't approach the municipal authority.
I don't know.
so that was.
I think
the
somebody through
problem.
Beaver Falls. I think this all went through, because
yeah.
Beaver Falls was the one, Bob finally called here after, Jim Bresnai gave him the phone number here and said, you need to talk to Big Beaver.
Right.
I don't think anything came through Big Beaver. Again, without Chad here, we can't speak to it. If you wanna
Well,
know
he
the
said it was
answers,
in the plans that they,
again, Dawn, you're gonna have to come to the municipal authority meeting tomorrow night. Chad was the one that was down there and spoke with
Yeah.
him without him
There
here.
you go.
I
Yeah,
can't
Rice
begin
should
to
go.
speculate, cause I just know what I'm being told.
Should Rice come?
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, it
Bob
would be
Rice.
good if he did.
is 6 inch a normal for force main? Or do they usually make them smaller?
Depends what type of pump. If you have a grinder pump, you can.
That's
go-
what they have,
Yeah.
grinder pump.
Not knowing anything about, I don't know what the comment
Well,
is.
can you get back to your,
Dawn, it's the engineer for the municipal
Yeah,
authority,
this
not
is
the
not
Big
our
Beaver
purview.
one. You have to go through the Big Beaver Municipal Authority's engineer. Our engineer here doesn't have anything to do with the sewer portion of it. So that's what I'm saying, so I'm saying, I don't know that our engineer even reviewed it. They may have, I don't know, we have to ask them that question tomorrow night.
We would've got a letter from the municipal authority, we have capacity. That's usually for
Yeah.
sewage and water when you do
Yeah.
land
Yeah,
development.
this is an issue for the municipal authority.
okay.
I'm sorry. That's-
I mean, you can come up tomorrow night and ask, I mean, the meeting's tomorrow evening, or put something down so we know what to ask
Yeah.
for you. But I know there was a big miscommunication between them and the municipal authority here, and who they should have contacted and didn't, and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff,
Yes.
so.
So Rice is saying because the borough's engineer approved it,
He didn't
Approved
approve,
they
the
went
plan.
ahead with it.
he
the
approved
plan.
the plan,
Right,
but he didn't approve anything regarding
With
the
the
traction
sewage,
of the
right.
sewage.
It's land development.
Correct.
right.
Land development met the borough ordinance.
So even though it shows the pipe there at a certain size,
That's
he's
not
not
under
looking
his
at
purview.
that.
Correct.
Right.
No.
I wouldn't review the water service,
No.
sprinkler service, fire protection,
No.
sewage,
Just
electrical
Just that it's
service.
there, that's all you need.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then they
And
report back
and
to
he
him.
knows better. I'm
That
sorry,
was-
Yeah.
that's just my
What's that,
opinion.
Don?
I said, he knows, it's not like they're new to the game.
Really?
Yeah, they know who they're supposed to contact and what they're supposed to
Whatever.
do.
Well, the only thing I was looking at is that, apparently it went through DEP and everything.
Oh my, that's interesting.
That's what he
Well,
told me.
sewage facilities planning would have went through DEP,
Yes.
but it doesn't get into the technical aspects of sewer lateral and
Yeah.
if it's just serving one building, it wouldn't have been a pump station that DEP would have
Yeah,
issued.
okay.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
believe, I could be wrong, but
It's just feeding into our,
the only thing DEP
Consistent.
probably did at this point was, we have X thousand gallons per day, DEP says, okay, the municipal authority signed off that capacity,
yeah,
that's it, not how they're getting it there.
I'm not getting it.
A
4-inch
6-inch
line,
pipe
6-inch
or-
line.
Oh.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I know our sewerage ordinance says that all lines have to be 6 inch, but I don't know if force mains have to be 6 inch. That's gravity lines.
find out at the municipal authority meeting.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's where to go.
Someone can get a hold of Bob Rice and suggest that he be there too. I think it's
Yeah.
important that he be.
I'll call them because
Yeah.
I mean, I
told
know
them-
he's
Because
been
that's
in
the
contact
versus-
lately with them up here as far as the municipal authority secretary. because she's like, we don't even, he goes, well, it's in, and he goes, I need it inspected. She goes, we don't have a tap-in permit, we don't have an application for
No,
tap-in, we
no,
don't, they don't know the EDUs, they didn't do a they did nothing.
Oh.
So, they went through all this stuff without even going through the municipal authority at all,
Oh,
so.
okay, yeah.
Which I don't understand.
So I don't know if he sent stuff to Beaver Falls and it didn't
We
get
don't know.
here, and I don't know what happened, but I know it did not come through this office.
Okay.
You mean through
The municipal authority
Right.
office, yes, sorry.
Yes.
When I say this, I mean, sorry.
Well, I know, but we have to keep this,
I know.
Right.
we've had trouble with it
Because
before.
Becky
I know.
had some of it that we were
Yeah.
able to look at.
Yeah, I know, sorry.
Okay.
So
So I'll probably have to call Bob and tell him not to pour cement.
Yeah,
I don't know, I don't know what to tell you. All I can tell you is tomorrow night,
go to the meeting tomorrow night,
Yeah.
Bob Rice, go and
because Chad will be there, right?
get
Our
it
engineer will
straightened
be
out.
here.
There you
At
go,
least he
the
should be. I mean,
engineer,
I don't know if
Chad will be
he's-
there.
At least there
Those are
isn't,
the
but he
people
should
you
be
wanna
here,
talk
he
to.
and Chad
Yeah.
both.
Anne Marie will be there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they should have all the
okay.
information. Like I
Yeah.
said, I'm surely giving the little bit I have, and it may not be 100% accurate, so.
No.
But that's my understanding of the
Okay.
situation.
Is that it?
Yeah.
All right.
I can't ride and talk at the same time.
I know, Tony, believe me, I know. Okay, we
I'll write
stand
something down there
adjourned.
that-
I gotta go.